Well, I am so delighted today because today I am joined with Alistair from Emerald Guitars. He took some time out of his schedule to sit down and chat with me, not only about carbon fiber and the world of carbon fiber instruments, but a very specific project he's working on, the development of a Weissenborn guitar. And we're about to talk about that, and I am so excited to dig in. Alistair, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Great to talk to you again.
I am so pleased. Again, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and sitting down to do this. I know you've been quite creative with some recent projects as of late, from what I can tell from your posts online.
Absolutely. It's taking advantage of the fact that everybody else left the factory and there was nobody there to stop me being creative. So I've been having fun.
I love it. First question I have for you is, I just wrote in my notes, the roots of the Weissenborn project. So could you give me a little bit of background on how this project came to be? I mean, here it's got quite a bit of momentum behind it now. So how did this whole thing start?
Yeah, well, it's starting to get a lot of interest. So it's been a lot of fun doing it and developing it. But really, where it all came out of was, it was always that curiosity instrument that you would come across at NAMM show. You're walking around the halls at NAMM and you see this one lone Weissenborn sitting in a corner somewhere, So anything that's kind of there by itself and lonely, I kind of take an interest in, If nobody else is looking at it, then I should be looking at it. That's my philosophy. So I like those kind of interesting things. So I saw them there. Never actually played one at NAMM. Just saw them hanging on a wall. And I think then listening to Ben Harper, listening to his albums and hearing that sound, not really even realizing fully where it was coming from, and then starting to realize it was a Weissenborn. And then I had a friend who was a big Ben Harper fan, and he used to always tell me, "Alistair, you got to build a Weissenborn." And he's not a guitar player, but he just loved the sound. So a really close friend, and he would tell me all the time, maybe like once every month, "Alistair, when are you going to build a Weissenborn?" So he started to wear me down. And then I got a couple of emails from some customers. And then I got an email from you. You mentioned, "Hey, Alistair, ever think about building a Weissenborn?" So it's just, all those things kind of conspire. So eventually I got ground down and I thought, okay, maybe it's time. But then you never get time. And then along comes a world pandemic, and our factory is put on layoff for, it's nearly been 3 months now. So then the world gave me time, so I thought this is a good time. So we started the quarantine project, which was the Weissenborn. So it's been a lot of fun.
Now, one of the unique things about this project, I would say that certainly the Weissenborn in and of itself is a unique instrument, but one of the unique things from a kind of a onlooker and just a guitar geek that I've noticed is that you've been documenting the process from day one, kind of a peek behind the curtain. How's that been going for you? Is it a little bit intimidating? Were you not sure about it at first, or how does that look for you?
Well, I think it's one of those things you show a little bit and then you realize that didn't hurt, so I'll show a little bit more. And we've been getting so much great feedback, so I guess people are kind of pulling it out of me, But yeah, it's been really fun to document it. Pretty much everything I've shown so far, we've never shown before. Probably most of what I've shown, I didn't realize people would actually be interested in seeing. Watching me sanding a lot of the time, sanding and shaping and, doing things that to me are very menial tasks. They don't mean that much. But finding out that people are really fascinated just seeing how a craftsman puts things together. And so it's been really nice to be able to share that with people and kind of feed off the enthusiasm. It's been a good thing.
As somebody who's watching it, I've taken a lot of pleasure in watching the videos and seeing it step by step. It's something that is completely foreign territory to me, and I would assume a lot of guitar players. What's been your experience? What's been your favorite part of sharing it with kind of guitar geeks at large?
Well, I think you kind of have to think about it a little bit differently whenever you're sharing it. You know, sometimes you just do things. You don't even really think about it. You know, like a guitar player can just play things, but sometimes whenever you have to teach somebody or tell somebody about it, you have to think about it a little bit differently. You have to analyze it a little bit more. So it's made me more self-aware of what I actually do, and it's I think just thinking about things a little bit differently. The other thing that's actually quite interesting about this, that people maybe don't realize, is this is the first time I will have done this process start to finish myself in a good sort of 5 or 6 years. You know, as the company has developed, we now, you know, we have a team. So I'll do a lot of tasks, but there's a lot of things that I'll get contribution from the team, and I'll step in for certain things. So doing something entirely from start to finish by myself has been quite interesting, and I realize how much I love it. You know, I mean, I love every aspect of a guitar business and what I do, from marketing and sales and you know, everything. But just getting back to just thinking about an instrument, designing it, building it. Just one instrument. That's quite an enjoyable process.
What has been what was the question I was going to ask you? With sharing this with the public, there's been kind of a I've never really seen this before, say for maybe a couple other manufacturers. You've actually had people contribute their ideas. I think when it came to specifically what I'm remembering is the bridge design. You just said, hey, everybody, what bridge do you like the most? So it's really nice from the person taking a look behind the curtain to feel like they're involved in the process. Now, along with that, I think that's certainly a high point in following the project. What has been, for you, the biggest hurdle you've had to overcome with this project, the Weissenborn specifically?
Well, see, I think we were talking about this one time before, and you know, I'm not a very good guitar player, but I'm obsessed by the instrument, and I love building guitars, not for me, but for other people. You know, so whenever I'm thinking about a guitar, I'm thinking about it from what the other person's gonna actually do with it, rather than what I want to do with it. So, so a lot of time it is a collaborative experience. You know, if I've got a customer that's commissioning something, you know, we'll talk a lot about what they want, what they're going to do. You know, so that becomes part of it. And so this has very much been like that. You know, it's not an instrument I have a deep knowledge and history with. So I'm having to feed of other people's history and knowledge. And then kind of making it a collective, you know, because you can't build a guitar that's perfect for everybody, but you kind of, you know, you get feedback from people and they tell you, well, I like it because of this and I like it because of that. And, you know, somewhere in between, you kind of draw your opinion of, you know, what is the right thing, you know. So, it's a really cool thing to get people's input from it. And it lets people feel like they're part of it. And they are, you know. Their enthusiasm is part of it. That's what inspires me. And then the really cool thing that we've done is we've been asking people to send in music. And so I decided to run a competition to win a Weissenborn.
Nice.
And I've been listening to a lot of Weissenborn players. You know, you just go on YouTube and it's, you know, I'm just listening to everything I can find. So I thought it'd be a really cool thing to have people send us in recordings. And that's become, you know, the music that I'm working to. So then that's the music that's inspiring me. That's becoming part of the instrument. So it's this really incredible collective thing it's just making something that's really cool, you know. Whenever we put strings on it for the first time, it's going to be a little bit of everybody's work in some ways.
That is so cool to see. It's so cool to see it come to life too. One of the things that really amazes me in watching this process is the amount of sanding. Do you ever get sick of sanding?
Well, you just have to get the right music on, and you get the right beat, and you just go to it. You know, it's if I had to do it all day, every day, yeah, maybe it would get a little bit old. But no, it's a process I enjoy. It's actually really tactile. You know, you're putting your hands on the instrument and bringing it to shape. So I actually really enjoy the process.
One of the things that stood out to me, I was watching a video, and I can't remember which one now, but you had made a statement like, it's one of those things that if you feel it, you know it's right, and you know it's a very tactile experience, as you just mentioned. And that was one of the things that leads me to my next question is, I think the common thought towards carbon fiber instruments, and really instruments specifically, is that it's just not as delicate, it's not as romantic as, a wooden instrument. But in following your project, I've actually thought quite the opposite. The amount of hands-on time you've spent with this instrument, the shape, the forms, everything, is pretty stunning. What initially drew you to carbon fiber, and how do you answer the question, carbon fiber is just, it's all machines and there's no art behind it?
Well, yeah, so there's two sides to that. I mean, on the side of people's perceptions of it, I think I've maybe become even more aware of that through this process. The number of people who are saying how surprised they were at how we actually go about this. And again, sometimes you're not self-aware. You just do it. But people do expect that we use a CNC machine to shape out all our forms and make the molds and that kind of stuff. I take a very different approach to it. I go about doing it by the hand forming approach to make it more, more tactile, to make it feel a little bit more organic and real. To me, it's the only way that I can do it. It's just the way I build things. But you followed it from the start. You start out with an outline, then I carve it out of a piece of foam, and it allows me to shape it and feel it. So for instruments, to me, it's very important to be able to feel it. And I think if you were to try and do that, or at least for me, if I was to try and do that on a computer and have a machine cut it out, you wouldn't get that same transfer between the human and a finished form.
Yeah.
So just doing it by hand, to me, it just flows better. But on the question of why carbon fiber as well, to me it's the material I know best. I've grown up working with fiberglass in my family business since I was probably working with fiberglass since I was about 12, helping my father, and so it's something I really understand. I worked with carbon fiber in my early 20s when I was living in St. Louis building Formula One racing boats.
Wow.
So to me, when I decided to build a guitar, it was just a natural material. That's what I understood. So, some people have an affinity to wood, some people carbon fiber, some people metal, so it's just a natural thing. It wasn't like, I sat down and how are we going to build the best guitar? How are we going to revolutionize the industry? It wasn't anything like that. It was just, that's how I know how to build things,
So in a way, I'm just kind of connecting some dots here in my own mind, my own kind of almost preconceived notions on carbon fiber. And I never realized this, but the carbon fiber process, and now it seems plain as day after having watching the videos, it seems as though you're almost able to get in touch with the final product even before you really start making the actual instrument out of carbon fiber. Like you were saying, it's nice to be able to hold it. Like when you're making the foam, the initial kind of foam design, I would venture to say that that's not really, you're not able to do that with wood at all.
I guess it depends on the approach, but if you're watching it and you're going through the steps, right now we're at the step where we built the molds. So everything up to now is about form and shape and the tactile experience of how it's going to feel. We haven't got to the stage of how it's going to sound. That all comes after you make the mold, and right. So it's you're getting all the physical parameters in place. You're getting just how everything's going to interact structurally and mechanically. And then a little bit further down the line, then you start to work out the recipe of the materials you're going to put in there to build a guitar. But the really great thing about it is you're setting all your outer parameters. So what you do internally inside the guitar and inside the mold is not set in stone. That's where we have an awful lot of flexibility to tailor the amount of carbon we put in there. We don't even have to use all carbon. We can use other materials. The different stiffnesses that we put into different areas, different thicknesses, different types of resin. There's like a million different combinations of how you can put those things together. So that's where you can kind of get creative then and tonally to try and make the thing sound the way you want it to.
See, that you just touched on something that I think, again, it's another one of those either misconceptions or something that maybe isn't such common knowledge to a lot of guitar players, is that I think the misconception is that, carbon fiber instrument sounds like a carbon fiber instrument, sounds like a carbon fiber instrument. And I've come to learn that that's just not true. I mean, I've played a couple different models from you all, the X20, the X30, vastly different sounding models, great instruments, and just to touch, I want to touch on the organic feel and comfort of both of those. I mean, I was stunned when I played both of those. But to hear that you can actually manipulate the sound with the materials, I see, like, that resonates with me. I'm like, oh wow, there's steps beyond just making a guitar-shaped object. You're actually able to tune and voice these instruments, which is something that never really dawned on me personally. What does that process look like? Is it trial and error, or do you kind of know a certain recipe that works?
So I guess it's a little bit more trial and error than what you would do with wood. So, if you're voicing the guitar with wood, say you're voicing a soundboard, you're cutting away wood until you get it to ring. You're maybe tapping it, or different people have different approaches. But, you're generally taking material away to get to that, place. With carbon, what we're doing is, we kind of have to put all the materials in there, and it's whenever you've got that finished guitar and you put the strings on, you know what you've got. So it's more a process of trial and error, and that, we know after 22 years of doing this, a lot of benchmarks. We know what a lot of material combinations will do, and then you build a guitar with certain combinations of materials combined with that shape of that instrument, and you get a result. So then you're kind of tweaking that result a little bit. So you might take a little bit away here, or add a little bit on there, and but yeah, just like you said, it's people do think, oh well, carbon fiber, it's that carbon fiber sound. But like, what does a wooden guitar sound?
Right.
Like it's so many different things. There's so many different combinations of wood will give you different tonal properties. And in the same way, we can have so many different combinations of materials that will give us so many different properties. The way I process my materials together, the entire technology is very different than the other carbon guitar manufacturers. And it's not better or worse. It's just, it's how we choose to do it. And it gives us a different sound and a different way to build it. But there's no such thing as the carbon sound. It's just how our guitar vibrates and generates sound from the energy of the strings. Ours does it a little bit differently. It's just things vibrating, making sound. Yeah. So it can be wood, it can be carbon. Martin guitars did the ones with the aluminum tops. So there's so many different ways to make an instrument sing.
It's so cool, and I think I this is maybe a little bit of a jump, but from my observation, it seems like in general people are starting to become a little bit more accepting of carbon fiber as a viable material for a musical instrument. And I say this in part just from my observation and experience, but also seeing emerald guitars grow. I mean, I think I first heard of emerald guitars, I had a student, this was maybe, wow, I want to say maybe 10 years ago. it makes me feel old saying that. But she came in with a very small, it was like a travel size. I can't remember the exact model, but seeing Emerald guitars then, and then now seeing not only how many different models you all offer, but also the team. You guys have a pretty substantial team at this point, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a team of 24 now, you know, and it doesn't seem very long since it was just me here.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's growing fast, and we've been growing almost 50% year on year for the last 5 or 6 years. So it's a pretty steep growth curve, and and even this year, you know, right through the difficulties that we're experiencing, we're still seeing a little bit of growth, you know. So it's been really positive, but you know, I think it's been driven by our approach to the market, how we've reached out to people and instruments that we've been building, and I think just slowly people's perceptions are coming into a more positive place about carbon. I mean, how it generally happens is first of all, there'll be carbon, that can't sound like anything. Then, you know, maybe they'll hear of somebody that's got one, and maybe try it. I was like, well, that's interesting. Or somebody will think, you know, I need something that's going to be able to actually, you know, live up to the climate that I'm in. So a lot of people maybe buy their first carbon guitar thinking they're only buying it maybe as a travel guitar, or they're buying it to, you know, take into some harsh climate or something. And then they actually realize that they love it and they play it, and they come back and they buy a second, and then they buy a third, and before they know it, they've got a collection of carbon guitars, and it's, you know, so it's quite an addictive thing, you know, and for various reasons, you know, it's like I'm never setting out to try and replace wooden guitars. I have the utmost respect for wooden guitar builders. I love the art form. I love the sound of them. I love everything about wooden guitars. But carbon guitars is a very viable thing. And what people will realize is it's a guitar that's, if you're living in harsh climates, it's a much easier guitar to live with, because, you know, you don't have to worry about it. And then what people discover is if they don't have to worry about the guitar, they'll maybe, instead of keeping it hidden away in a case, they'll set it out beside their chair, and they'll play it more. So they find they're playing more guitar because it's a little bit more carefree, and it's generally in tune whenever you lift it up. It hasn't moved. So just those little things, you know, just kind of all comes together, and you discover they actually like the sound of it as well. So it's, you know, it's a good thing. So it's got a very, very strong place in the future of guitar world.
I agree. I mean, I agree. And I was certainly, I would say, you know, if we were having this conversation even 5 years ago, I was firmly in the camp of extremely skeptical of carbon fiber. I think I was in that very first stage that you had described, in that carbon fiber, they all sound the same. But again, as I experience more and more, I find that to be very different. And just to touch on what you said about the benefit of being able to leave it out and not worry about it. Zero issues with humidity. Tuning stability is top notch. In fact, I've got one in the corner of my upstairs room, and we've got a wood stove there. And it's not, now granted, it's not right next to the wood stove, but it's in the same environment, a very dry environment. And it's so nice to be able to have that out and literally pick it up and have it be in tune. It's pretty phenomenal. I mean, I'm definitely, I would say, certainly a convert in my view of carbon fiber. Now, one of the things that has always impressed me about Emerald is, first and foremost, your team. You know, I see you guys are very active on social media and very active and putting out videos, and the shipping videos are so great, because it's so nice to see what you guys make. But more importantly, what I think is interesting is you attach it to the person that it's going to, and it kind of starts its story right there, even before it leaves the shop. And I think you guys do such a wonderful job of conveying stories with these instruments and giving each one really a personality. So I wanted to ask you, is there one or two instruments that have really stood out to you in terms of the story that's attached to them? Yeah,
I think there's so many different stories, and that's what I love about this, And we took the pretty bold step about 5 years ago of moving away from selling through dealers to only selling direct. And one of the things, the dealers were great and provided a great service to us. And it was an important part of our business at that stage. But one of the things that used to frustrate me a little bit was I just felt I was a little bit distant from the customers, The dealer kind of becomes this, it's a conduit between the builder and the customer, but also can become a little bit of a barrier as well, You don't get to talk to them directly. And I just love to talk to the customers. So we decided to sell direct. And it's been such a fantastic thing to learn about your instruments. So, when you're dealing directly, you get direct feedback about what's right about your instrument and also what's wrong about your instrument. So, there's been quite a number of things that we've changed and refined over the years out of that direct feedback. But also you get to understand why somebody wants to buy a guitar. And very often there's a story behind it, Not everybody is just going out to buy a guitar just because they need another guitar or they just want, this cool looking thing. Sometimes it's, people are buying a guitar to mark an event, in memory of something that's happened. There's so many different reasons that people buy a guitar. And I love that side of things, and we've been able to build some really interesting guitars for people. But one that kind of stands out is, interestingly enough, for somebody who decided that they wanted to write a book about the stories behind our guitars. And this lady, Stacey Blevins from LA, she wanted to write a book about our guitars. She had become a fan and then a customer, and just realized there was something a little bit different about what we did. And so she set about interviewing a lot of different Emerald customers and writing this book. So it's called Building Guitars One Story at a Time, which I think is a beautiful title. But we did a lot of these kind of interactive conversations through Skype, talking about the stories, and then I started to ask her about, some stories. So we started to think about building a guitar for her that would be her story. And she talked about her grandfather. She talked about traveling to Hawaii with them quite a lot. And she decided she would like a guitar made that would commemorate her grandfather and commemorate the Nepali coast, where she spent a lot of time. And it's this beautiful coastline with these incredible green turquoise colors. So we decided to build this guitar for her, and my sister-in-law actually hand painted it. So it's got this beautiful painting on it, and it's got some really personal little touches and details. But it was the way we were able to capture that story in the guitar. It's a great guitar, but the artwork and the story and everything kind of pulled together into this one instrument. And just seeing what it meant to her and the reaction to her, it's just a pretty special thing to be able to be part of. Just having the people trust you with their stories. To put them somehow into an instrument. And we've done some other really interesting ones for like the guitar that I built for the Chinese megastar Li Hong, the Dragon guitar. It's created so many stories. The guitar is a great story in itself, but just traveling to China on multiple occasions for big concerts and just surreal, incredible experiences. Being in a stadium of 80,000 people chanting the name of a guitar that you built, it's kind of makes the hair stand up in your arm, So this is why we love building guitars. It's the experiences. It's the coolest job in the world. Absolutely.
It's so, there's one thing I want to mention. You said it right off the bat. Our stories are actually quite similar, because when I moved to Montana, I moved here. I worked for Weber Mandolins, which was in Montana here when I had initially moved, and I was a salesperson selling to dealers. You know, so we obviously built the mandolins here in Montana, and we would sell to dealers, and then the dealers would then sell them to the players. And that's the one reason why I stopped doing that job, because I felt disconnected from the people that were actually using the instruments. And I just like you, I thrive on that. I love hearing how somebody's going to play it, why somebody's going to play it, or like seeing that reaction when somebody's saved up all their money and they finally get a chance to get the guitar of their dreams or the instrument of their dreams. It's like, that's a big moment. And to be an integral part of that moment, that's really something special.
Yeah.
And in you describing that guitar, that I believe Stacy Blevin's guitar, you all did you did a video unboxing of that, right?
We did, yeah. We brought all the team together into the offices, and we had shipped her the guitar, but we told her she wasn't allowed to open it unless we were present. So we set it up on a Friday afternoon, and we do a thing here where every Friday we get all the team together and we have lunch and a jam session together. So
Nice.
I'll bring in lunch for the whole team. Everybody hangs around and plays guitar. So this Friday it was to do the unveiling of Stacey's guitar. So everybody was here. Everybody that contributed to building the guitar was here in the room, and she was on Skype. So we got to see her opening the guitar and opening the box and seeing the guitar for the first time. But it wasn't just me getting to see that. It was all the team, the guys who actually built that guitar got to see it, and that's a really powerful thing. We get emails and we get sent videos and we get sent so many cool things from our customers, and that's why it's not just, I don't just love it, it's all the team that love it. They thrive on it and feed off that. So it's and that's what social media has done for us, this ability to connect. Going back 30 years, we couldn't have done this. We couldn't have had that connection with the customer, but now we can, so we just embrace that. And, even though we're selling mostly to people on the other side of the world, it feels really close, as if they're just next door, So
it's so great to hear you say that, because it does, it's funny because we've spoken on the phone a couple of times about the Weissmore project and other things, and I literally feel like we've hung out for a long time. It just feels like two guitar geeks hanging out talking. Yeah. It's pretty outstanding, and I think that's a testament to what you've created with Emerald Guitars and the entire crew. I mean, just in sharing emails with the crew, everybody's just top notch, and I just can't thank you all enough for really doing what you do. I just each time we talk, I'm like, man, I love those guys. A couple of other questions I have. If you would entertain a rapid fire round of sorts, I've got a couple of quick questions. Some guitar related, some not guitar related. If you would be okay with that, we could do a couple of those. What is your favorite adult beverage?
At the moment, I'm pretty partial to Guinness. I do like a Guinness from time to time, and I do like Redbreast 12 whiskey. So gotta try it sometime. I'll bring you a bottle.
Deal. I'll take you up on it. What's one artist that stands out that you've made a guitar for that you just can't believe you made a guitar for that artist?
It's easy. Steve Vai.
What's your favorite wooden veneer right now that you've placed on a carbon fiber instrument?
Oh man, it's always like the next one we do, Favorite, it's probably still going to be Cocobolo.
Oh, nice.
You've had Cocobolo in your hand. It's nice.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. On the same note, what's your favorite color carbon fiber weave that you guys do?
Red.
Nice. I had a feeling.
I own a couple of red cars. I have a thing for red.
Nice. What's your favorite Emerald model?
That's always a hard one as well, but I think the X10.
Nice.
I think it's kind of the guitar that I built kind of for myself, you know. Yeah.
I realize as I ask that might be a little bit unfair. It's like picking your favorite child.
I know it is tough, but you know, you do love some more than others. But you know, you see, the thing is, sometimes you get to tailor these children the way you want them to be. You know.
Yeah.
I don't have that. Didn't have that pleasure with my own kids. They're great, yeah. But you know, there's a few things you might change.
I'll make sure they get a copy of this. No, I'm kidding. What's the first place you're going to go when quarantine's over?
Well, they've started to release the binds a little bit here, so we've been able to travel a little bit further. So nice. I went to the beach yesterday, and it was incredible.
Awesome. That's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. What's the biggest lesson you've learned in your career so far?
To make your own luck. You know, to just go for it. Don't wait for it to happen. Find a way to make it happen.
Wow. I think that's. I got one more. It's hard to ask a question after that because that was like visiting the Oracle. You just delivered a beautiful response. If you could only choose one album to listen to for the rest of your days, what would it be?
That's really, really tough. But I think the album that I don't know if I want to listen to it for the rest of my days, but the one I couldn't live without is probably Steve Vai's Passion Warfare, because it just means so much to me.
Nice. Awesome. Well, Alistair, I can't thank you enough for your time and just, again, kind of pulling back the curtain and allowing us to see the whole process. It's been so cool to see you to develop the Weissenborn model. It's been so cool to be able to chat with you on a little bit bigger scope about carbon fiber and your experience within Emerald and creating Emerald. I just really appreciate you sharing your time with me.
No, it's a thrill to do it, you know, and I think I need to do this a little bit more and tell people a little bit more about why we actually do things. But you know, I'm really glad that you know, people are aware of what we do and why we do it, and you know, even just hearing you saying about the little things that you pick up about and how we go about our business. It is a little bit different here, and I like that people see that.
It's a treat to be a part of, and every instrument I've played from you guys has been really stunning. And talk about comfort, tone. I mean, this is not a sales video for Emerald, but it very well could be, because my experience has been just top notch. I mean, even like I said, emailing folks in the front office, just kind of asking questions, down to, you know, sitting down and chatting with you. It's just been a total delight, and I can't thank you guys enough.
Oh, well, it's been a pleasure.